So Will's got all these clips together for us this morning. I've been up at Ashwood working away, fitting new cameras. So I'm just going to show you some of the results from these new cameras. And this is very early in the project that we're just starting to get first glimpses of some wildlife, which is really exciting. So Will's going to hit the button. So yeah, so we're going to take you through Ashwood basically today and the new cameras. So this is a pond I've built, and this is one of our first visitors on camera, a female sparrowhawk. So she's just come in for a little look. Potentially she could start bathing there, but she's very quickly away, heading off. But we've got plenty of other visitors at this pond. So this pond was built in the depths of winter, and we're just starting to see the results now. We've got the cameras on there, and this is superb. Little sequence. These are fieldfares. These are thrush from Scandinavia. They come here to overwinter, and we've had dozens and dozens of these coming in at once. When you see them fly away at the end, you can see how many there is around there. In the background as well, a huge flock of them there taking off. So we've had loads of wildlife coming into this pond already, and it's still very early stages there. I'm going to show you another clip here. And this is going to be badger. Look at that. We've got our first glimpses of badgers. So I positioned this pond quite deliberately on a badger's track. The badger's track actually is where the badger is. And I'd just been working down there, and that badger had smelt me and decided to back off a little bit and not follow his usual track. But as they get sort of used to me, we've got, I think this will be a different badger here. This one obviously doesn't mind me as much. You can tell it's sniffing the air, probably tell I've been there, but this is really great to see. It's found this water source, and this is really important up here on the Yorkshire Wolds. We have you know, very little natural water here. So, you know, little places like this are an absolute magnet to the wildlife. You know, we're on dry chalkland here. And it just goes to show that I've managed to position these cameras correctly. I often put a bucket there, or just one of my drills, something that I'm working on to focus the camera in and judge the size of the animal. Sometimes I go in front of it myself to see if it was a bigger animal, but we've got that sort of perfectly positioned, which is great. The only change there to make is to actually put separate infrared lights on, so that's quite important, so we don't get that eye shine, and we then get a much nicer quality image. But that's like the second phase. I get the cameras in, and then I start tweaking and adjusting lighting, because that's pretty important that we get those animals looking and the cameras looking the best they possibly can. So that's the next stage there, microphones and new infrared lights, which is actually takes longer than fitting the cameras quite often, funnily enough, but it's an important part of the project. What are you going to hit us with now, Will?
Let's go for the stoat.
Yes, this is really exciting. This was just today, wasn't it? Well,
yep.
When I was actually up there, just further down the woodland, and this dashed by, and our immediate thought was it's bandita, but this is quite away from where we are here, and bandita would be starting to look like this now if she's still with us, but we think this is maybe a male stoat, and she doesn't have, we can't see any nicks in the ears. It's, you know, it's at a distance, very fast, but bandita will be starting to transition back if she's still around and still with us somewhere. So that was potentially really exciting, but we think we don't think it's bandita. Maybe one of her relatives, but not bandita herself, unfortunately. So what's next, Will?
We've got our visitor, I think last night this was.
Oh yes, this is just nearby to that pond, and this is a tree I've converted into a nest box. All of that front of that tree was fallen away, and I put cameras in the bottom of a nest chamber, made a nest chamber, and actually where the tawny owl is actually perched, that's actually a piece of wood that's infilled by me to make a natural cavity. So this tawny owl, I don't think they've laid yet there, and they're starting to inspect that new nest site. And this is the other fun bit. You just see the owl there. It's actually flown down. Did that take off straight from the
It's a separate clip.
Separate clip, but is it a similar time?
Yeah, similar time.
Similar time. So it's investigating that area, and then if you watch the lives, that tawny owl is often feeding at night on a feeding branch that I've got, where I put different things for them to eat. I think today they're on rats at the moment, and then if I find pheasants on the road, that all goes on there. So it's quite important, if you can, to take dead animals off the road and reutilise them. You're not wasting them, and you're probably saving something else from being eaten, and you stop a lot of road collisions. Birds of prey go down and owls onto roadkills and often get run over themselves. So so I pick anything up that I see and feed it to the wildlife. Yeah, so that's the pond. Have we got any more pondy bits?
Those are the rest of the pond. The next is our 2 trees path.
Yes, this is a new path camera that's gone in. So this is a natural badger path running through here, and we've got this hare coming through, and we will be capturing more and more things, but this is very early stages. This camera's only been there just over a week, and it's great to see the wildlife on it already. That hare thinks better of it and toddles off the other way, but we've got pheasants. All the wildlife going through this woodland will use this. We've got a thick bramble patch to the left hand side as I look at it, right hand side of the shot. So so that naturally funnels the wildlife through and between these 2 trees. So they're just very ordinary shot of pheasants, but it's quite nice to see wildlife is naturally using this path. So when we get a little more of the special species coming through on this path, like this guy, this is a roe deer. I was actually walking down there as that roe deer was there. I was just going down to check cameras and fit another camera, and unfortunately I disturbed it, but later on that night the roe deer is back, and again, this is a female. You can tell it's a female with that little tush from her back end. Males don't have that, but this is a superb roe deer. I love roe deer. So since we've got this shot, we've moved the camera up a little, and again this camera needs its own infrared lights, which just gives a nicer feel to the image and gets rid of that white eye effect. So if the infrared's set away from the cameras, we lose the white eye effect and get a much nicer image there. So that's the path camera. What's next, Will?
That's everything. So we're going to questions.
Yeah, so if you watch the live cameras, we're bringing the buzzards there. We've had 3 buzzards feeding there as well, where the tawny owl feeds, and there'll be plenty more wildlife to share with you. There's a little owl box going up there in the next few days, so hopefully we'll be able to bring you little owl. There was a little owl seen up on the feeding tower up there a few days ago, and this is the first little owl I've ever seen. Well, I say first I've ever seen in the garden. I've seen one in the hedge line just here, but unfortunately Bomber, I don't want a little owl to come across Bomber, because Bomber, as you all know, is fiercely territorial, and that little owl's only snack size for someone like Bomber. So it'd be lovely if it settled here, but I think it's better for the little owl if it moves on. So we have now captured in the garden short-eared owls, long-eared owls, tawny owls, what a jet again, barn owls, and little owls. Is there any other owls? We've done it, haven't we? Is that 5 owls?
Pretty much got them all.
Yeah, I've got them all. So there's any other owl that lives in the UK, well, there is other owls, but not necessarily properly indigenous. We've got the snowy owl, but further north, which that is a wild population that we occasionally get coming in, and then we've got the European eagle owl. And there is some debate whether this eagle owls in this country are escapees or just or actually wild birds. There's nothing to say they cannot be wild birds, because short-eared owls, long-eared owls fly in from Scandinavia every year in different parts of Europe. So why can't eagle owls? That's what I think.
So that is quite good jump over to our questions. Sue Ringer was asking if you could tell us a bit more about the little owl that was seen yesterday.
Oh gosh, I wish I knew any more. I mean, it was a surprise to me. So there is little owls up at Ashwood, and I haven't seen those for a few days, so potentially it's one of those little owls. I'm not sure where they nested last year. They did nest up there last year, but I'm putting in a new nest box for them, a Des-res nest box. What have we got going on?
Sounds like
Oh, it's a thrush. It's a thrush pretending to be a buzzard. So I don't know if you guys can hear that at all, but we have a thrush doing a very, very good buzzard impersonation behind us, as well as other birds. So they will mimic other birds that they hear as part of their repertoire. So back to the little owl. So the little owl, yeah, so it's literally is the first time we've had one actually in the garden. And years and years ago I saw one in the hedge line just behind me here, just behind the branch there. And we have had little owls in the valley here, right down at the bottom of the valley, and I've seen them in the hedge over there years ago. But yeah, it's a total mystery what these little owls are doing at the moment. As soon as we hit March, they're totally just thinking about the nesting season. So if they've ever wintered somewhere and that area then isn't providing them with a decent nesting place, or even squirrels have taken the nest site over, then they need to start looking in March for a nest site. And this might be an owl that's just looking for a new nesting area, because they have their traditional territories, but if they lose that nest site within the traditional territories, they've got to actually start moving to find a new nest, because they'll even nest in rabbit holes if they have to. They'll nest in piles of bricks if they have to on the floor, but they prefer to be up in a tree and a cavity that you can't actually see into yourself. So they don't want tawny owls to be able to enter there. So there's often quite a long passageway, turning corners, and then a nesting chamber of some sort in a tree is what they usually go for. So yeah, they don't like to have a nest site you can just look in and see that little owl in there, because they don't want to be predated by other bigger owl species, basically.
Steve Windermere asks, when you are feeding the owls, do you warm the food up to vole temperature for them?
No, I don't. So during the cold spell, we did have a lot of problems with food freezing out there, but I don't do anything to vole temperature. They take it. I always defrost the food before I give it to them, and I just pop it out there. So there's no vole temperature food for them.
Claire Douglas asks, where is Bomber? Does he stay away while Luna's breeding the eggs? Every time I watch, there's no Bomber.
Yeah, he's a bloke at the end of the day. He's sat up in a bush in the wood just behind the house up there. So he's as soon as those chicks hatch, he's not. His job is just to provide food, and the males in the barn owls, tawny owls, virtually all the owls don't actually feed the chicks little tidbits or anything. They just bring the food, and that's their role in the breeding season, is just to provide food. And so he did stay in there for quite a while, but you know, there was moments when Luna, when these little tiny beautiful chicks hatch, the female just wants food brought. They don't want too much extra fuss. Bomber did actually take a chick from the nest one year. I think he had another mate down the valley, as I said before, and he did actually take an owl chick one year from under the female owl that was there. That was quite a few years ago, but it was quite a disturbing thing to see. His other female obviously hatched first, and he was pinching food from the nest, and then he took a chick away. But I'm fairly certain he's only got Luna as a mate this year, and he sits in the wood in an evergreen bush, quite happily sat up there. And come dusk, the blackbirds start going crazy, and I hear the blackbirds pinpoint where he is. But he has one favourite bush he sits in, about 70 metres away from us.
Paul Murray asks, how did you manage to attract the barn owls onto the log for feeding?
It's just skill. It's not easy. Barn owls don't naturally tend to take carrion, so it's taken many sort of years of trials and tribulations, but once they start actually doing surrogate work with owls as well, they recognise the day-old chicks, and once you have one owl feeding, it encourages others to feed as well. They see an owl eating and they want to go and be a part of that and see if they can pinch a bit. Naturally in the wild that'll happen. If a barn owl catches a vole, a kestrel will come hovering over and come in and try and steal it. So it's a natural thing that we're seeing, that one owl starts eating and the other owls think, oh, what's that owl doing? and go and take a look. So yeah, it's pretty unusual. I don't know. With tawny owls it's relatively easy. Barn owls, tricky. Yeah, very tricky.
Victoria B, one of our mods, asks, what other wildlife besides tawnies, buzzards and little owls will we see at Ashwood?
Oh, let's wait and see. We've obviously seen the deer, perhaps foxes. Yeah, I mean,
hedgehogs maybe? Bit of everything.
Maybe, yeah. So, you know, it is a wilder place than we've got here, because we're obviously filming in our garden and surrounding sort of fields here, but this is a wilder place. So yeah, to see the deer, we have had deer in the garden, but they're usually quite fleeting glimpses. I mean, the goal is a roe deer with some little fawns. They often have two little fawns, and if we can capture stuff with a roe deer with the fawns, I'll be delighted. And more of the badgers, maybe even a group of badgers, you know, a female sow with her cubs on a feeding trip. That'll be pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, wait and see. We've got, you know, getting more cameras out there each day, so we'll see what we capture. There's a woodpecker hole I'm keeping a close eye on. Great spotted woodpecker. Yeah. I mean, they're the main subjects that we mentioned that we're trying to capture, and anything else is going to be a bonus.
Sue R asks, what is your estimate for when Luna will have her first owlet?
I'm not saying is there
There's a poll still going. I think it might be ending soon.
Yeah. So
soon, we hope.
Soon. Yeah. So I often feel, so we say they're going to hatch in 30 days. It rarely is the 30-day. It doesn't like happen on the day. So it's quite often a couple of days after that, I've found, from when she actually started, it can creep through into 32 days, sometimes even 33 days. So yeah, let's wait and see. It's an exciting moment, and we're just waiting for those first little chips. We keep seeing little bits of dirt on the eggs, but when the owl starts chipping, you know, it's a little bit more obvious. When you see the dirt on there, you know, the cameras are good, but they're not, you know, to see that sort of detail. What you often see is the shell will start reflecting differently as well. There'll be a little hole, and what you'll see is the actual eggshell starts actually, as it hits different angles, it's reflecting slightly differently. That's usually one of the giveaways, and it would be lovely if we can hear any chicks calling in the egg. I mean, that's something I want to try and capture. We've got better cameras in there, better microphones, so let's hope we hear that little chick.
Colin C asks, will we have little owl and other tawny owl live cams instead of just the barn owls and Luna and Bomber?
That's the plan. yeah, that's we've now got a little plane coming to join us, but yeah, that's the plan. We're going to bring as much wildlife to you as we can this year, but it's been difficult. We've had a lot of wet weather, we've had snow, we've had wind, we've had rain, we've had everything thrown at us while we've been trying to set this camera project up. More technical problems than I've had in the last 10 years, probably this year. So you know, the distances involved we're trying to achieve, you know, it's bigger, you know, than we've done before. But hopefully we'll be able to bring buzzards as well. More buzzards on the nest potentially, but that's, you know, looking at a 50-50 whether we actually achieve that, you know, because they do have other nests that they nest in. So yeah, just going to bring as much as possible. My goal over the next couple of years is to have a double nest of barn owls, a double nest of tawny owls, maybe a little owl nest, and maybe 2 kestrel nests. So we've got the bases covered, and we're definitely going to bring you that, because we've got Luna now. She's nested and started nesting in January, late in January, And if we then can have a second brood with barn owls most years, we've got 10 months of live cameras in nests, which is pretty extraordinary, isn't it? Because normally it'll be a little tight season, less than half of that would be more the thing you would normally expect. So we're bringing a double amount of wildlife, because if we do get tawny owls up at Ashwood, I don't think they've laid yet. They're starting to look at that new nest site, so then that would extend our tawny owl season. So that's the plan, is to be able to bring a live stream with two nests of each species over the next couple of years, and then a few extra species along the way. Yeah, but fraught with technical problems and weather problems at the moment, but we're getting there.
So thank you everyone for all your questions. That's all we've got time for today. Do keep your eyes peeled, as we hopefully will have eggs hatching in the next few days.
Yeah. So see you next week. Take care.